Hey everyone, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while giggling, staying connected, and loving on the romance genre. So, small life update from me, Melody. I am taking a trip. It's my first trip since pandemic, to witness my teeny tiny baby brother Adam get married this weekend. And I cannot explain how elated I am to call his new wife my sister and squeeze my little sister and meet her partner and see my mom and stepdad. It's nuts. And I'll definitely post updates in the Patreon, don't worry. And jokes, Adam's not tiny anymore. He's like 6'1" and a homeowner and talks about actual stocks on something called the market, and I can't even. He hates when I say this, but he will always be my baby. Oh, and I have some super fun news, like from the romance world. I had the pleasure of talking to Julia Quinn about her new graphic novel, Miss Butterworth and the Mad Baron. Me, Melody, I Zoomed with Julia Quinn. Patrons have the video and audio now, and then we'll be releasing that to everyone for next week's episode. So, if you want exclusive early access and access to things I'm probably going to cut for the public episode, because you understand, it gets personal when I chat with my new best friend, Julia Quinn. You can head over to patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms podcast. This week, we get the second half of Nat and Sara's recap of The Billionaire's Wake Up Call Girl by Annika Martin. And let me tell you, they drop some wisdom about skirts and hot weather. Here we go.
He's an asshole, but he's going to make it good for her.
Yes.
This is their dynamic.
Yes, exactly. Like, he's an asshole, but he's her asshole, which is, I mean, not really. That's a quote from Sex and the City.
Okay, first of all, do these men actually exist? These men who say these perfect things all the time. I've just read Tessa Bailey, and then there's this, and I'm just like, where are these men? Where are they hanging out? Where?
These men are written by women. That's why they exist.
These men are written by women. But then he has a line, and he says after, and so they're really they're play acting this. They're spinning this fantasy together, and they're adding. It's like yes,
I love
and
kissing you. You're unlike any woman I've ever met, and it drives me wild. Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then he talks about like afterward, after you come, you're so soft to me now, and you'll let me do anything. So I pour you clothes, and so he wants that. Like he wants the soft too. He wants his smart mouth girl, wake up call girl, and then he wants that soft afterward, and it's just so lovely. And this book wasn't supposed to be like this. It wasn't supposed to have all these layers.
So, but in this call, she's like, there's a lot of comparisons that she's making to Mason throughout this whole call. Mason always acted like, this is blah, blah, blah. And so she's already kind of built this connection to him. But for her, I think it's easier because she knows who he is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think he feels like possessive and sexually attracted to her. A little bit emotionally, too, because she talks to him like no one else does. But she definitely has started to compare him to other men in her life. But basically, they end this call, and he's promising that he won't call, Hello Morning, which is her fake company, anymore. He won't do it anymore.
And he also pegs her immediately. And that's why this is such a compressed timeline.
Not actually, though.
No, oh my God, no. There is not any of that in this book.
No, there's not.
Yeah,
no
just got
pegging.
real close to the screen. So, no pegging on the screen. He is able to identify her personality and work vibe, perhaps is more accurate. But he says, I don't know who you are, but I know you're creative and you're ambitious, and you took an opportunity and you ran with it, and you zigged and zagged, and you could have taken me for all the money in the world, and I would have given it to you. So he knows her. That's, again, it's kind of part of what makes, it's one of the universal fantasies of this book is, he knows that Turnip Truck isn't right. He knows that Operator 7 is all the good things that Lizzie is. He knows her, he sees her, and that's so delicious. That's probably one of the reasons I like this book, is because who doesn't want somebody who looks at you and sees you?
Deeply.
Yeah.
This is also where we find out that Lizzie loves baby goat videos, and she sends him these frivolous, in his opinion, baby goat videos that she makes him watch because she can text him, but he can't text her. And then he basically is like, tell me what you would be doing today if you didn't have to work. What would be the one thing you'd want to do? And she was like, I would bake cookies. And I would bake cookies, and that's what I would do. And so this call, actually, this is like a very important phone call for them because this is when their relationship becomes more about sex.
More than about sex?
What? What did I say?
I don't know exactly.
It becomes more than about sex. Yeah, yes. It is. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so she says that she would bake cookies, and he's like, cookies are also frivolous. They are worse than goat videos. They provide you no nutrition. And we find out that food is just like, he's so mercenary about food. Like he does not care what it tastes like. It is nutrition alone. Later we find out he is blending raw eggs and vegetables together.
No pans. He has a blender because he drinks his meals.
Yeah. We also find out in this call because she kind of calls him on the fact that he doesn't like cookies because of a tragedy. She's realizes
just like,
that
you have bad memories with cookies, and she's like, oh fuck.
And he realizes that she has Googled him, or at least in his mind, she has Googled him. He doesn't. I mean, obviously, she knows more about him because she works at his company, but he talks about how he hates, he's touted as this hero because his parents were killed in this car crash and he survived. Him and his sister survived, but he has spent his whole life making a product that would have kept his mom alive. So that would have helped his mom survive.
And so the media call him a hero, and he hates it.
Yes.
He hates it. He's just doing what he does. He doesn't like, he feels, I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome. It's
those fake stories that paint me to be a heroic phoenix rising from a tragedy or some shit. It's as if they're about somebody else. They're painting a picture of somebody else and they leave me feeling alone. I want for somebody to not do that, just one person. And so she realized
he feels isolated by that. And that's why he pushes himself so hard to find this next compound, and why, he's alone in this quest, and he doesn't want the accolades. Yeah. He just wants to save people.
Yeah.
And not examine it too much.
Yes, exactly. And then they end the call. And they end the call because he tries to get her to tell him her name. He wants
and she does the
she's
weather.
Like, no, the weather is at JFK is 45.
And as soon as she says the weather, he's just like, no. And,
yes.
It's already out. The train has left the station, and that's that.
Correct. And now he is like, I'm a finder.
I'm gonna find this woman.
Yeah, so he's at work early, and he has come up with a plan. He's going to send an email to Hello Morning, and he's going to have his sister, who's some sort of tech coding programmer, not a hacker, something, computer lady. She's going to do something where they can see the IP address that the email is coming from. And
I'm just going to call this the computer enhance section. Computer enhance. Like that's what he's having her do. Enhance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that movie before, but I do know that joke. So then it works, and we realize that the calls are coming from inside the house, Sarah.
Inside the house! And
the email originated inside Vosimir. So his thought is it was Sasha.
So he goes straight to Sasha and is just like, hey, I know.
He invites her to lunch.
It's not even that. And here's where I love Theo. He invites her to lunch at noon. He gets to the restaurant at 11:30. I love this. That's me. That's so me. I'm just going to get there. I'm going to make sure we get the table we want.
Yes.
We're organized the way we want.
I want to prepare myself. Yeah.
It's going to get busy at noon, so let's just get there early. Yeah, love it. Love it.
So he invites her to lunch, and then that conversation is kind of like he's trying to like lay some Easter eggs for her, and he's just so disappointed during this whole lunch because it's nothing like the chemistry that he has with this call girl. He has it feels like a completely different person. So then they go back, and he like comes clean to her, and he's like, hey, I know that you've been making these phone calls. I love it. I want to have dinner with you.
When you got yourself off this morning, that was great. And Sasha's just like, yes, when I did that with you this morning.
Oh, yes, the calls.
Yes.
With me.
That I make.
You were into
every morning.
Huh? So she agrees to dinner because she's been pining for Theo Drummond this whole time.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, honestly.
He's a cold
obviously.
asshole boss who's wealthy and hot. Who wouldn't?
Gotta love those. So anyway, so he's weird, but he's still gonna go with it because, obviously it's gonna be a little bit different right off the bat, but he invites her to dinner. He spends a lot of time thinking about where he wants to take her. It has to be the right place. It has to be...
I want to go to that restaurant.
Did you look it up? Is it real?
Is it real? No, I didn't. And I don't even remember what it was called. It's
Blue
not
Stag
the Spruce
Club.
Moose. Yes.
Blue Stag Saloon? I don't think that's right.
He would never. Theo Drummond would never.
A saloon?
But he tells his sister, like, it's got to be the right restaurant. It's got to be quirky and colorful, but not too quirky and colorful.
Yeah.
And it's got and his sister is just like, okay, baby brother.
So she makes a suggestion. She's like, there's no way you're going to get in.
So he just goes and slings hundos until they make room for him.
Exactly. Which, I mean, they would let a fucking billionaire in a second.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
If they just said, this is who I am. So then he's like, Sasha finds out she's been invited to dinner. She's like, yes, this is my chance. So she realizes that it's been Lizzie that did all of this the whole time. So she calls Lizzie into the conference room and she's
the firing room.
Correct. And Lizzie is pretty sure she's getting fired. And Sasha plays it off. She's like, no, let's just document some stuff. The ingenuity that you showed. I mean, maybe it wasn't cool that but everyone gets caught up in the moment. So then she pumps Lizzie for information. She's like,
how did this start? And what did you say to him? And blah, blah, blah.
And he was into that. And then Lizzie kind of draws the line at discussing the phone sex in detail. She's like, shuts that down.
And she's just getting more and more horrified that Theo told Sasha all of this. She's just like, oh my God, I thought this was special, but he's just telling Sasha about this. So she tells Sasha that, I called him a jackalope and I called him a motherfucker and this and that.
Yeah.
She's just like, nope, not talking about any of the rest of it. Theo might, but I'm not gonna. And
so then after Sasha has gotten every piece of information that she can get out of Lizzie, then she fires her. So she asks for an escort out and
she says Mr. Drummond is angry and disgusted. He doesn't want anything to do with you. Don't call him anymore. You're fired.
Yeah.
And Lizzie's crushed, understandably, because they had this connection on the phone.
Yeah. So then that night, Sasha goes to dinner with Theo. And have you ever seen somebody in real life that's trying to fit in with a crowd? Like one time I had to do a basketball tournament for teens and I used the word sick 3 times.
Natalie, no!
I know.
Yes.
So that's what it's like to see Sasha
it's
on the
the
stage.
Steve Buscemi, hello, fellow kids.
Yes,
She's just like, yes, hey, you motherfucker. And it's just so stiff and performative. Theo's like, and she doesn't even notice the picture of baby goats that I put on the table for her.
Yes. So there's all of these things. And then the thing that really, the whole dinner, she's just very stiff and it's weird for him. And he's like, well, it's going to take time. But then he's like, okay, well, what should we get for dessert? And she's like, oh, I'm not really a dessert person. And that's when he's
just like, what?
Nope, this isn't her. Something's wrong.
What's your favorite musical? Because Lizzie has said she loves Funny Face, and Theo's just like, musicals. Brr. And of course, she's like, I don't know, Grease?
Yeah.
Which is
ma'am,
the best, worst musical answer I've ever heard.
You better shape up. So then he's like, why are you pretending to be her? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? And basically, Sasha admits that she is not the call girl, but she will not give the name because she still will not let Lizzie win anything ever. And if she can't have him, nobody can have him.
A villain.
Yeah.
And he realizes he can't threaten her. He can't fire her because he has just talked about phone sex and asked her to dinner. And this is going to be an HR nightmare. So he's just like, well, nothing I can do.
Yeah. So and we find out later that he's trying, he says that he's going to fire her as soon as he can figure out how to do it without HR, creating an HR nightmare. So then Lizzie has been home baking cookies and trying to watch Funny Face, which is her favorite musical, and trying to cheer herself up. And Mia comes home and they're trying to come up with funny ideas on how to make money before Lenny comes on Sunday.
She's up at 4:30 staring at her phone, just angry.
Yes.
And
he calls and she says, go fuck yourself, and then smashes her phone
And she has this great line. She has a hard time smashing the phone. And she's just like, seriously, do phones only break when you don't want them to?
Yes. Can verify. So then she stomps it. She brings her boot down. Why are you wearing boots, Sasha? It's first thing in the morning.
She put them on to stomp. She doesn't sleep in her boots. Come on.
Yes.
Come on. She's not Benedict Cumberbatch's character from Power of the Dog. It's fine.
So the next chapter, he is like storming into his sister's house and is like, we need to find this person no matter what. They realize, of all the people, they know it's somebody at Vosamir. So then it has to, that's kind of where they start.
They look at where the PayPal account is going.
And they realize it was a Turtle Foundation. And he thinks, oh, well, we had all these like charity suggestions from employees that got to list their favorite charity suggestion for some sort of something at the beginning. Maybe one of these will be turtles, and lo and behold, it's Lizzie, and she has chosen.
And he's all vindication because
Yes.
he knew Turnip Truck wasn't Turnip Truck. He
Correct.
knew, and he solved the puzzle, right? The pieces
Yes.
snapped together, and he's so pleased, and also really wants to fuck her. Just
Yes,
really,
exactly.
really wants that.
So so Lizzie's been at home. She realizes that there are loan sharks sitting outside of her house. She gets delivery, and it's from Vosamir, and it is a dress and shoes, 2 different kinds of shoes, sizes of shoes, in case it wasn't 100% correct, which the thought on that, and then a
Thoughtful.
custom cookie.
It was it was vanilla. She says it's the right amount of vanilla. It was chocolate frosted, and it looks like a phone, and it says
Yes.
happy wake up call girl discovery day or something like that. And she's so mad that the cookie is good.
And she's like, doesn't really get it. She's like, why is he doing this? Like, what?
Well, and she thinks he had her fired, that
Yeah.
he shared all that stuff with Sasha. So she's just like,
All my life, I've baked special little cookies for somebody, and no one's ever gotten one for me until now, and it's mocking. Like, that's how she feels. And so then
she does still take a bite of it, which I love.
Yes. I mean, could you resist? Just the perfect amount of vanilla in the dough. So then Mia's there and is like trying to figure out what they should do, and they realize they can sell these clothes or actually return them to the store to get money, and then they sell that like store credit to like a rich lady and so they are able to like scrap together like $6,000 or something like that. So then they go to the loan shark and they're like, all I've got is $6,000. And they're like, too bad, you need 14, bitches. And they say that you can like work it off. Yeah. And which, I mean, wouldn't they just get sex trafficked at this point?
I think so. Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's
I think so.
kind of what
so
would
they
happen,
did take
right?
a pass on that, which is probably the right call. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but like, I think that Lizzie was like 50-50, not sure if she should. And then Mia was like, no, you're not doing this.
Well,
what are you
Lizzie
thinking?
is worried that Mia's going to get hurt, that Mia's
Yes.
going to be there when they come for her. And so she wants to protect her friend. Yeah.
Yes,
But
exactly.
she's not quite ready to go that far.
They get home and realizing that he's like at the restaurant, realizing that she's not going to come. And she's like kind of feeling a little vindicated because he can't always get what he wants. And Mason just was like, always wanted to win, and she feels like Theo is the same way. I thought this was pretty key. She was like, I liked when Mr. Drummond was jerky during phone sex, but I didn't want him to be an actual jerk. Is it so impossible to have one without the other? And I was like, that is the
Probably.
all-time question.
Probably.
That's what all... So anyway, then Theo is like he gave her 45 minutes and realizes that she's not going to come. He got a return notice for the dress. Like they got a little email receipt saying that
And
the
it
dress
makes
had
him
been
sad.
returned.
He's just like, man, I really did screw this up. She is pissed.
So he goes and does a light stalking.
Just a light standing outside her house, figuring out which window is hers.
Yes. And he notices that there are dudes standing across the street looking up at her house. And he goes over and he's like,
Hey,
what about if I
my
give
man.
you a little money and you don't have to stand out here anymore? You can go get something to eat. And these guys are kind of like, sounds like a good deal. And
I
so
will
then
take
he
it.
goes to visit Lenny and pays off the remaining $8,000 or whatever it is that is owed.
I assume he just found it in the cushions of his town car.
Scrapes
He was just
together
like,
the
"Here's-"
pennies. Yep, yeah. So he's trying to figure out, and he has a private investigator that's been looking into everything and realizes like this Mason West has disappeared, so like they're still looking for that. So it's like the next day or something like that, and Lizzie realizes that the loan sharks are gone. She knows she has told Mia to not come home. She
put a deadbolt on the inside because she is just like, you will not be here.
Wants to make sure that Mia is not going to be there so that she doesn't get involved in this, which is great. That's good friend behavior. She has on this outfit, a red Henley shirt, and a sporty little plaid skirt that's good for summertime walking.
What a weird specific description.
This person does not have thighs that touch in any way. If she thinks a skirt is good for summertime walking.
Summertime walking. She has a thigh gap. She has all the thigh gap.
She's described later as, like, being a normal human-sized lady who eats cookies. But no, bitch. If you have normal human-sized thighs that eat cookies, skirts are not good for summertime walking.
Am familiar with Chub Rub. Would never choose a skirt in the summer or ever, honestly, if I know I'm going to be walking.
Correct. Although those snag tights, those Chub Rub.
Okay, I've always wanted to try them. They're very expensive.
I have them.
Are they worth it?
No, they're not that bad price-wise.
Okay.
You could get them when they're on sale. Okay. Buy at least 2 pairs. The shipping is free. I have them in 3 colors at least, maybe 4. I love them. I wear them all the time in the summer. I love skirts, but this is the problem.
Okay.
I could not. I was like, excuse me, no.
Ma'am.
That is unbelievable. I understand we're dealing with.
Suspend my disbelief.
I understand that we are dealing with anticoagulants and hemorrhaging and loan sharks, but no, this is my line. There are no good skirts for summertime walking if your thighs touch.
Stand by it.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
Anyway, Theo Drummond comes to her house. He shows up.
And she is not inclined to let him in at first.
No, she is. No, her heart is doing bongos. She's like, no. And finally, she does open it up because she's so, like, he calls her Operator 7 and she's so, like, aghast that
she's like, you don't get to call me that.
Correct.
She's dead.
Exactly.
You killed her.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, she calls him on the fact that, like, you think we're going to fuck right now or ever after you told Sasha every intimate detail of our phone calls and after you told her to fire me? Being that you didn't even have the courage to do it yourself? And then he's like, everything's kind of snapping into place. Like, she knew all these details, and then he tells her that he was mistaken and he thought that Sasha was her, and then she finds out that, like, Sasha pretended to be her, and that is a big deal. And then they kind of start to laugh about it after a while
because it is ludicrous.
Yeah,
it just I do like Lizzie just being like, wait, Sasha?
Yes.
Sasha?
And then she talks about she seemed to know a lot. Jackalope, for instance, and like Lizzie thinks it's comical that that Sasha would use words like jackalope and things like that. And then he says, she couldn't convince me for long. She could never be you. It kind of all comes out why she needed the book. Tells her that he settled her debt. And he's like, I owed you that bonus. So, like, don't worry. That's taken care of. It's not like something you owe me.
And he's going to give her the rest of the bonus.
Yeah, you earned your work from Bossamere. Like, that's done, And basically, but he's like, that's not any of why he's here. I'm here for you, basically, is what he says. I care about the way I felt when I was talking to you. I liked the way we were together. And then they have sex.
And we can just gloss over that. It's fine. It's fine. No, he does rip her shirt. I will say, if this book had not followed through on the clothes ripping, it would have been a
multiple times, Sarah.
Yes.
But, yes. So they sex, and he carries her.
tosses her on the bed.
He uses his grip. Oh, I loved this. He uses his grip on my shirt to pull me slow and strong, eyes on mine until we're too close to see each other anymore. And it's just his lips consuming mine in a slow, hungry kiss.
Okay, but here is the chapter where there was a description that I did not love.
The wonderfully cucumbery cock.
Why are we describing his cock as a cucumber?
Is it bumpy? Does it have bumps, Sarah?
Is it perfectly spherical? Really did throw me out of the moment to be like, do I like this? I don't think I do. I like the sex that they're doing here, but I don't like thinking about cucumbers in this setting. But you know what? After a while, you run out of ways to describe things. I get it. As an author, I get it. And he did what she had to do. I also like that he didn't rip the shirt right away. Like he's hauling her around with the shirt. He tosses her down on the bed.
He has the threat of like ripping it.
And then he just like pounces and rips it open. And at one point she was just like, I took off my own bra because I do not want to go bra shopping again.
Because bra shopping, been there. Exactly.
But the sex is real good, real like asshole dirty, commanding. But of course, there's that underlying sweetness and affection, and it's just, it works on all those levels that you want it to work on.
Oh, we had back during one of the calls, he describes his own lip scar and how he would use that on her. So he's like very aware of like what that feels like and the texture and everything like that.
How big is that scar?
And then she says, I think I feel his bad boy lip scar. Which I don't, like, did he talk about how he got it? Like, he just split his lip when he was a kid, right? Like, I don't...
No, we do.
Oh, no, he got it during
a fight. And I can't remember if we know this at this point or if we find out afterward.
He talked about it during phone sex, I think. Okay. She comes multiple times.
Of course.
You know. And then he sleeps. He sleeps through the night, which he...
And he wakes up at like 7:30.
Yes. He couldn't believe it. She's been up. She brings him coffee.
She's in that turtle shirt. This is where she's in the turtle shirt. And it does not make him leave the apartment. He just loves her more. I mean, like, if I showed up in front of any man in a sparkly turtle shirt, I think they'd be like, yeah, I have to go. But not Lizzie.
She has not given him her new phone number yet, because they wake up and she gets a phone call from Mia, and they do have more sex. That while she's having this phone call, he's trying to seduce her while that's happening. After, she hangs up and he pulls out a condom and tosses the wrapper onto her naked chest. And I was like,
chest.
Oh, I did like that. Yeah, so she does, they're trying to, he talks her into going to breakfast with him in her turtle shirt. He's not ashamed to be seen with her in the turtle shirt.
He takes her to a nice place
that does not serve sugar in any way.
And she is so horrified, and he is just like, sugar is empty. You don't need it. And so she does get up and leave the table and goes 2 doors down to the little, bodega, I assume it's like a little bodega, and gets like a 2-pound bag of sugar and comes back. She is a little manic pixie dream girl here. She does write her phone number on the sugar bag to be like, here you go. But it was good coffee and the cream was delicious and it just needed sugar. And I feel that so deeply. So deeply. And the wait staff is so horrified.
In this breakfast, Theo finds out that she's leaving in 3 weeks, and they make kind of like a contract of sorts, not official contract, not sex contract, but like they're like, no, we're gonna be fuck buddies for 3 weeks. And he's already at this point he loves her, and he's gonna agree to whatever she wants. He's already trying to think about ways to get her to stay. She also says, like, 3 weeks, and you do not interfere in my business. You do not try to interfere with my business. That you have nothing to say about it. It doesn't exist for you. And he's trying to deal with that.
Emily, can I ask a question? What is bulletproof
It's coffee that you put butter in. And basically, the idea is that the butter and the fat that's in that's now part of that, will help you absorb the caffeine faster. Because, like, you need a lot of times your vitamins don't absorb. If you just take a vitamin with like no food or anything like that, that's why you're supposed to take a lot of your vitamins with a fat or like a food of some kind, because it helps your body absorb them into your system more efficiently. So basically the butter and the fat in the coffee helps absorb the caffeine into your system. So people that are drinking bulletproof coffee tend to have a bigger caffeine high and a bigger charge.
Is it just any butter? Just any butter?
Like not
just
salted
put butter.
Okay. I don't think you want that.
All right. Thank you for that. And this comes up because she says, why are you getting up at 4:30? When do you go to bed? And he's like, well, I go to bed at midnight. I get up at 4:30. And she says, oh, and then you have this insanely punishing workout. And he says, what makes you think it's insanely punishing? And she says, you're a bulletproof coffee drinking workaholic with an unbelievably perfect body who sleeps 4 hours a night.
Yes.
Let's call it an educated guess. And I love that. Okay, thank you. Yep. I'm gonna go put butter in my coffee now.
No,
see what
don't
happens.
do it. I don't think it tastes very good. Like, things that he does don't taste good, Sarah. And like, we need things to taste good in our lives. You know what I mean?
And we're almost here because she's gonna. Well, actually, we jump ahead. My notes jump ahead.
During
what
that
are you
call,
going
she
to
also
next?
talks about how miserable it is to work at Bessemer and how he's actually damaging the people that work for him because of the microwave popcorn ban, et cetera, et cetera.
And
Correct.
It's gray and it's competitive.
Oh, the end of that, basically, he has had her investigated, and she's like, I don't like this. I asked you not to interfere, but you investigated my whole company, and then you're telling me I shouldn't be upset about that. And, you know, she's like kind of leaves because she is having these flashbacks to Mason. And so she leaves this breakfast pretty abrupt because he's not really giving her the answers that he wants about why he had her investigated. And then she gets a catering job, so she's kind of doing her own thing, and then she does call him at 4:30 the next morning. She wakes him up, she apologizes for leaving breakfast abruptly, and then we get basically what I think would be in a movie version of this is a sex montage.
Yeah, it is a sex montage. They meet at hotels. She wears her shapeless dresses. He rips them off of her. She also just, like, the first time she shows up at the hotel and finds just a note on the bed that says strip, and she does not strip. And you know what he does? He does
put her over
spank
that
her
chair
ass.
and spanks her.
Yeah. And as in the time-honored tradition of romance heroines everywhere, she likes
does.
it. Like,
yes,
she's
it,
like,
it works for her.
into it.
So, yeah.
Can I just say, this book uses more exclamation marks than I thought I'd be comfortable with. Like, her inner monologue is just like, it's savage go time,
Yes.
and it's all exclamation marks, and I would never think I would like exclamation marks that
Welcome
much, but
to
I
the dark
do.
side,
This
Sarah.
book made me like exclamation marks. I'm looking at your name as Nat with an exclamation mark on the Zoom right now, and it's so you, and I love it. It's you, and it's Lizzie's inner monologue. That's where I love exclamation marks.
I do not have the patience to frost cookies, though, so that's where our similarities end. After one of these times, he's driving her home from the hotel, because they meet at hotels, and they do not go to each other's apartments or condos or whatever, penthouses, and they get stuck
to try to keep
on the
things,
3rd Street Bridge when he's having his driver drive her home. And usually it seems like he has his driver avoid it. They do not go that way, but they're stuck, and they're stuck in traffic, and he's visibly upset, and she can see it. And so finally he kind of like comes clean to her.
Well, and he says, and she kind of is just like, hey, is everything okay? And he says, this is not for fuck buddies. This is not in the fuck buddy realm. But he shares anyway. But he clearly is chafing at the distinction that she's making him. She's keeping herself away from him as a fuck buddy, and he wants more. And so he
and so then he takes her down to the water underneath this bridge and confesses to her that, like, that's the bridge that his dad drove his mom while he was drunk, and they went off the 3rd Avenue Bridge or whatever. And
he's blamed himself for not taking the keys.
It turns into this kind of origin story, and they have this whole thing. She decides she's going to go back to his house after this, story is over. You need cocoa. And then they get back to his house and they realize he does not have anything to make cocoa with at all. Not at all. But she's like, I do in my purse from this catering job, which seems pretty weird.
How big
I don't
is
know.
That purse?
Also, I mean, like, cocoa powder? Like, you have to bring your own cocoa powder?
It's a
I don't
weird
know.
thing to stash.
I believe in you, though, Lizzie. It's fine. So he's, of course, in this super modern penthouse. They just have this kind of really cute evening, and she ends up...
Well, they just have the first couple evening they've ever had. They order Chinese, they watch a Marvel movie, they hang out, she loves it, and she doesn't want to admit how much she loves it. And she ends up sleeping
over. And then they realize that he doesn't have anything in his house to make breakfast in any way.
She wants to make him an omelet, and he's like, yeah, I have eggs and cheese. Well, he doesn't have cheese, of course. I have eggs and veggies and this and that. And she's just like, cool. And he's like, yeah, good luck.
So she ends up boiling water and poaching eggs in the boiling, which I think is probably possible, but like, whatever. They end up going shopping for kitchen supplies. So she like makes him shop for all of these kitchen supplies, like pots and pans and different like utensils and stuff.
Like he says later, apparently a man needs an egg pan and an egg pan needs an entourage. And I love that she just outfits his whole kitchen, including a baking sheet for cookies. And she's like, maybe you can make cookies with the next woman. And he's just like, ooh.
So then while they're unpacking everything, her Willow comes in. Willow is Theo's sister, and she gets like immediate sister approval because she gives Theo so much shit. They talk about the...
Well, and Willow's just delighted that he has a woman
that he
there.
has
She's
somebody
just like,
else
oh
in
my
his
God.
life that's there for him. We find out that Willow is going to be his guest for the banquet, and we realize that he's getting honored at this banquet for like an award. And he's like, well, Lizzie, you could come with me. And he like starts this campaign to try to get her to be his guest at the banquet. And then he's back at work on like a Saturday and is realizing like, you know, that all these distractions have actually opened up his mind to like some other ideas. And he has this like image of like popcorn popping and then like little goats springing up. And that has triggered his brain to come up with the secret formula for the blah, blah, blah.
Is Annika Martin a biochemist? Is she a marketing expert?
Maybe she's both. Biochemist, marketing
good.
Expert. So I believe it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
She's sold me.
She can do anything.
So then they're back with Mia, and this is like maybe a week later. Like there's only a few more days left before she's going to leave. Maybe like a week and a half later, I'm not sure. And a dress has arrived. It's the same dress that that Theo had sent her originally. He had exactly.
I'm really glad she got
it
back.
It's like a velvet, fun fitting dress. I don't know. And I can't really remember what happens. Oh, they go for a walk.
But I think we have to set this up. He has been like, let me just buy you a bakery. Yes. Let me buy you a building so you can stay here and we can be together. And she is adamant that he not do that. She wants to control it. She doesn't want anybody else to have control of it. I honestly think I would have been the same. And I will say, and I got a little frustrated. Apparently, I would be a very good candidate to be not a sugar baby, but a sugar middle-aged writer. Because I would be open. I don't know. I mean,
I think that if I had the same like history that she had
obvious, and I guess that's me. Yes. We know that he's a good guy because we're in his head,
and he would never be interested in taking advantage or anything like that.
Yes, but how does she know that?
They've known each other
realize
for
all
like
that.
2
I realize
weeks,
all that.
You know what I mean? Like it's
okay, fine.
And she's had this big trauma thing. I don't know. And she kind of has this game plan, and she wants to stick with it. Like I probably would have done the same thing, but
and he's so frustrated because he would be so easy. Again, it's just like money that falls out of his pocket would get her.
Or just him co-signing. He's offered to just co-sign on a lease with her. Like he's like, I don't need to have any financial control, but and she's basically like, if you give me this, you can always take it back away. And so I definitely
do not want
I definitely think I would have felt the same way. But anyway, her and Mia are like trying to spend as much time together as they possibly can. So they end up going for a walk around their neighborhood because they both do love this neighborhood. What's her face? Lizzie has arranged for a subletter to take over her part of the lease for the next however many months. So they've got everything kind of wrapped up. But they go for this walk and they find the perfect corner storefront. It's already set up for a small caterer or restaurant or pickup location. And it's everything.
It's got the pressed tin ceiling she loves. It's the location is perfect.
It is everything that she has ever liked. Just so happens that the owner of this place is just walking right by and is like...
And the owner just so happens to love Cookie Madness. Was so sad when it went out of business.
And then they like start to talk. And then she realizes that this person that owns it would love to let her take on this rent, but on like paying a portion of the net profits,
like
a profit sharing idea rather than rent. So, but some months they may not make any rent at all, but some months they may make more than what she would normally pay for rent. And just so they don't need to run a credit check, they're going to base it on her Instagram presence. And
Lizzie is just like, I did this on my reputation. I did this. And she's thrilled, and they're going to meet for lunch the next day to finalize things, and she's delighted. And it is so obviously too good to be true.
Yeah.
To us, bless her heart. And, of course she wants to stay.
Yeah, she's looking for any reason because and Theo is part of that.
Yeah.
She's happy that and so like after it's all finalized, he's the first person she goes to see. She runs in, she goes to Vosamir to actual business. She sees Betsy, who's her old friend, who is the admin, and Betsy's like, look at all the changes. There's artwork, there's color, there's happiness.
We have chocolate covered
look at all these snacks in this break room. The old firing room was turned into like a lounge for employees. So she does run into Sasha while they're there, and Sasha's like, "Oh,
Sasha is
you're starting your own business? You got a place?" And it's like, it's weird. Like it's almost like Sasha already knows what's up, and we'll get to the end when we actually find out what's going on, but I have questions about how that happened. But anyway, so like Lizzie's like, yeah, I did, totally cool, right? And then she goes up to Theo's office and she's like so excited, and he's so excited, and they have hot lab coat sex against his door.
Lab coat sex.
Yep. So they are like, he's obviously jazzed, and then
and I want to say, isn't this the first time that they actually have, like,
Correct.
they are not role-playing, they're not doing, and because she says, we always do asshole boss and
makes sure it
saucy
stays
call
that
girl.
way because she doesn't want it to be.
And when it starts to get sweet, she pulls it back and she throws him sass and she makes him be an asshole. And so this time in the lab, I think, is the first time they just have sex as the two of them. And she says, it feels like he's fucking me all the way up to my eyes or maybe my soul. And I fucking love that she goes from the physical fucking me up to my eyes to, but also my soul. Like she just, she can elevate all of these scenes because Annika Martin is a genius.
And she does say in there, like, no more games. And he says, I don't mean no more games ever, but not a game right now, not for me.
Hey, HBs. I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need, because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
So, she does end up getting to orgasm by doing herself while fucking.
She does
this
do
line
herself.
I really liked because he talks about how he doesn't want just everything. He wants 100% and 110% of her. And she says, "You're not much of a scientist if you think you're going to get 110%." And he says, "You make me believe in impossible things." And that was great. And then she runs into movie villain Sasha, who's been waiting for her at the security desk for her to leave. And she's like, "Oh, so you really think that you did, huh? Actually, Vosamir owns that.
What?
You can talk to this guy in accounting because we own it." And then she was like, "It's too bad you're not as much of a fierce businesswoman as you think." And it was just so gross. And she's like, Lizzie says, "Oh, when impersonating me doesn't work, there's always petty jealousy, isn't there? It doesn't become you." And Sasha says, "No, okay, but letting you know what an idiot you are, that for sure becomes me." And I was
that becomes me. God. And Sasha knows she is going to get fired. Like, she knows she is signing her death warrant at that company, and she doesn't care. She just has to tear Lizzie down.
Put her in her place.
Wild. So Lizzie does turn around, and now we're in Theo's head at this point, and he's so happy to see her. he's so thrilled that she's come back, and then
that he has done
realizes
fucked up.
She knows.
And he says he's sorry a lot of times. He says the contract is real. The terms are to protect you. And we find out that he has bought the company. The people who she thought were the owners were actually brokers that put on this whole charade or charade, depending.
Charade.
But he's like, the terms would protect you. The success would be all you. He doesn't want any money. And she was like, but you lied. You did exactly what I told you not to do. And now how do I know that everything you do in the future isn't going to be the same? And he's apologized over and over again. He talks about how he doesn't want to out in us. And she stormed, and then we get a sad montage, a sad omelet making montage. There
is a very sad montage.
He does say, like, I text her later that night, and all it says is, I'm sorry. And then the next day he texts her, I'm sorry, heart emoji.
Heart emoji.
And I was like, I don't know if that's going to be the thing that works, my friend. Heart emoji. He's then he's trying to figure out how to make himself an omelet. So he does. The next day he goes in, he calls Sasha into his office to fire her. And he does say that, like, originally after everything came out, Lizzie actually went to bat for her and didn't want him to fire her because she actually believes in Boss Mayor and works really hard. And he says, you blew that chance. She showed you honesty and decency and you blew it. And she's like, I wasn't thinking. I was like, no, you were.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So then he has to call Willow and tell her everything that happened. And Willow says, wow, it's impressive, and not in a good way. Exactly.
So Willow's going to be his date for this
months.
banquet.
And is it just me, or does that not seem like that long of a time? Like, oh, really?
It feels like an eternity.
But you can visit and stuff like this.
I'm so Team Theo on this. She's being so stubborn. Well, I mean, he can afford to fly her back and forth, but would she take it? I don't know, because she's so rigid about those delineations. But no, I totally get why Theo's doing it, because he's found her. He has loved her since that, first phone call. She's so strictly, like, not willing to bend at all. I get why he does it. It's wrong. I get that it's wrong, but like,
so we get a little like going out scene. Mia and Lizzie are going out for like one last night, or like big celebratory night where they can hang out with their friends. And she's going to drunk dial him at 4:30 in the morning. And Mia is like, no, you cannot. Tequila decisions are bad, which, hey, can verify. Nope, tequila decisions are bad. And we wake up the next morning and Lizzie is like, I have to rip off the Band-Aid. I cannot keep sitting here. I'm going to go back on what I think is right. I just need to go. So she gets a U-Haul early and loads up all of her stuff and is leaving. And while she's trying to drive out of town, she gets stuck on that same damn 3rd Avenue bridge. She's stuck again and realizes while on that bridge that she's correct. Why is this that big of a deal? They can figure something out. And she does really just love him so much. And so she calls Mia and is like, hey, I need you to do some shit. So she takes her U-Haul.
Don't ask questions. I need you to do some things.
In front of this, I don't know, banquet place. Yes, fancy banquet venue. And it's like double parking, has to keep moving it. Mia comes and they change into this fancy dress, this fancy velvet dress, in the cab of the truck in front of the venue.
In the cab of the moving
And then she
truck.
gets out and she's like, I need to go to this party, this fancy billionaire party. And the security guards are like, hard no, ma'am. You're the one from the U-Haul?
Bitch, no. And she's like, but I was the one with the moving truck.
Exactly.
And she was like, that didn't help my case as much as I thought it would.
So she ends up texting Willow because she has Willow's phone number from another time that, Theo had called her from it or something like that. And Willow ends up coming out to talk to her, and Willow's like, hey, security guys, this lady needs to come in. And they're like, no, you cannot come in without a ticket.
No!
If she's friends with Theo, he should have given her a ticket. And then Mrs. Locke, and maybe this is why we got so much information about the Locks, but Mrs. Locke comes out with her teeny tiny dog and is like, oh no, this woman needs to come in right now. You get to do, and they're like, ma'am, you can't have dogs
now
here. And she was like, no, this is my dog. He's very important. Goodbye. And they run her in. She takes Theo's seat, and her and Willow watch the speech. And the speech it's an A+ speech, Sarah.
Well, and Willow's concerned because he is not prepared.
Correct.
And if we know anything about Theo, it's that he would have prepared the speech. And she's just like, yeah, I don't think he wrote anything. I think he's just going to wing it. And he has, like, he does the baby goat video on the big projector, and he's self-facing and humble and talks about his struggles.
And this point, so she's tried to get his attention to, like, let him know that she's there, and then he has to dim the lights to show an actual baby goat video in the middle of his speech, and then while the lights are dimmed, that's when he can see her. And so earlier in the book they had joked about how, like, if she had been watching a speech, she would give him the finger, and she does give him the finger while it was happening. But he says wake-up calls come in many forms. Sometimes baby goats show you you're being too linear, and sometimes it's a literal wake-up call that wakes you up to a world that's wider than you ever imagined. Let's never stop discovering ways to make it better and more beautiful. And that's how he closes it, and it's just magical. It's a rom-com moment. So he finds her in the crowd, and she basically is like, no, I made a mistake, and I want to be back here with you. I want to make, trying to make this work.
And so at that point, she lets him. He moves her subletter into one of the Vossomir apartments.
# billionaire
so she can move back
shit.
in with Mia, and she can be in town. And
yes,
I mean, let the billionaire handle
we also
things.
find out
That's
more
all
about
I'm saying.
Mia's future book in this scene, and then we're here in the epilogue. She does decide to keep the bakery and everything like that, and then the epilogue were like 18 months later, when on the day probably that she actually would have been returning to New York, we're actually getting married, and they had we wrap everything up. We wrap up all the bits and bobs here. You know what I mean? He's learning how to be in a real family, supportive family.
Very happy,
she catches him like. Yes. Yeah. He loves all of their
Christmas traditions.
He secretly studies them for clues on how to have a good marriage. And, they mouth, as she's coming down the aisle, she mouths, "I love you." And he whispers, "I love you" back to her. And it's really cute.
This, the writing, the internal monologue, the layers on the characters that you wouldn't expect from a book with Wake Up Call Girl in the title. Astound, and I have not read more into the series because it's hard to find time to read sometimes, as all of us who read know it's hard sometimes. But I do.
I'm sure there's going to be a Willow book too,
and whatever book comes after that, I'm going to have to read that too.
The Locks, I feel like maybe were a previous book.
The Locks had, it felt very much like that. So
everything.
Someday I'm going to read this whole series of
Sarah.
like 20,000 books, and I'm going to love each one. I know it.
Does he get his HEA? Why is he wearing a pinky ring? I mean, this is the second pinky ring in as many weeks, because Anthony Bridgerton had a pinky ring, which I was not prepared for at all. And then, yes.
An ostentatious pinky ring, yes.
So anyway, I like this book. There were some things that I didn't care for, word choices, but other than that, I really liked it.
I mean, I'm never going to look at cucumbers the same again, but that's okay.
Either way. Hey, Sarah, do you have a lady love?
I do. I am going to recommend 2 TV shows that are going to be very easy, fun watches for everybody. The first, as I've discussed with our group chat, is Crashing, which is a 2016
one season
British show written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. 1 season, 6 episodes, 30 minutes each. You can do it like I did it yesterday or Wednesday on accident, the whole thing. Season 2 of Fleabag is the most perfect season of television I have ever seen. She's a genius. And Jonathan Bailey is in it, Lord Anthony Bridgerton.
Oh my God.
And he is a chaotic...
He's a manic pixie dream boy in that book.
But he, just like with Anthony Bridgerton, brings depth to it that you would not expect. It's a delightful, fast watch. I watched it when it hit Netflix years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm putting together, so I watched it again with Anthony Bridgerton in my head, and it was great. It's on Netflix. Easy binge. The second suggestion I'm going to make is an HBO Max show called Starstruck. It is about a normie who has an interaction with a movie star, huge movie star, and they have a one-night stand, and he can't stop thinking about her. And it's
Is it based on a romance book?
It should be. No, it's fabulous. It actually reminded me a little bit of Ivy Owens' Scandalized.
Yes.
Which is coming out later this summer, and it's Scandalized is incredible. So
maybe that should be our lady love. Scandalized is so good.
It's so good. But Starstruck is like the British bouncy fun rom-com version of that. The second season just dropped on HBO Max. I have not seen it yet. The first season was amazing. Wow. So yeah, those are my lady loves, is just get you a couple of half-hour rom-com type shows to watch and enjoy, and you will not go wrong with your weekend this weekend.
Yeah. Mine is very specific. Your friend and mine, Jackie G, HB Jackie G, one of her love languages is giving gifts, and she's very, very good at it. And she sent me a surprise in the mail, and it was a fin filter, PHIN, from a Vietnamese coffee company that I am now blanking on. Hold on one second.
I thought you were going to come up with a very different gift from Jackie.
Okay. Jackie has sent me some things in the mail. Some things that go buzz in the night, if you know what I mean.
That's really what I thought you were going for.
Now,
Jackie has exquisite taste in all things, y'all.
Nguyen Coffee Supply, and they do their Vietnamese brand, and they sell both the coffee filters. But so if you've never had Vietnamese coffee, like traditionally you brew it and then you pour in like sweetened condensed milk into it to make like this sweet coffee beverage. I'm not a sweet person, so I just put oat milk in it like a goddamn crazy person. But it's like this really strong, bold coffee flavor. They have tons of different grinds, tons of different beans. And it's just been like, you know how if you're a coffee person, it's all about how fast can I make coffee? How fast can I get this? But like with Vietnamese coffee, you have to slowly pour it over. It's a percolator. It has to drip out. And it's a whole process to make it. And I just love the process. They have small ones. They have big ones. I just have a single cup one. But that's what I was drinking when we started this. It was Vietnamese coffee. And I just love it so much. And you can make it iced. And when you do like the sweetened condensed milk and you do it like as an iced coffee, oh gosh, it's so beautiful. It's like this really lovely, like sweet iced coffee experience.
Natalie, when I'm at your house for the next time, would you make me sweet iced Vietnamese coffee?
I will, absolutely. Amazing. Sarah and I only live an hour apart.
So you know, I can do that. I can just drop it.
Yeah, you absolutely could. And the nice thing is that you can always have Vietnamese coffee because it's just, you just make it whenever you're ready to make it. So it's like this fun little tradition that I make for myself during the day sometimes.
I love that.
Oh man, we went some places.
I am so grateful you shared that ferret story with me. You have no idea. None.
So keeping a badass and love yourself
as much as you love summertime walks in short little plaid skirts.
I was gonna say, as much as you love CUCUMBERY dicks.
I don't love either of them.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.